Thank you, Chairman Osman. Malolele, greetings from Tonga. This presentation is more about a status report, a rather general status report, than me talking about a specific strategy on shifts in operating HR models. And there's a reason why I'm focusing on this very general status update. The Kingdom of Tonga has a very small population of about 110,000 people, and it's located in the Southwest Pacific, about 3 hours flight from Auckland, New Zealand, and 1 hour flight from Fiji. Tonga is still one of the very few countries in the world that has not recorded any COVID-19 cases. However, the closures of international borders from last year led to our borders also being closed. And there was a temporary lockdown with stay-at-home curfews in government operations, and that has been ongoing. The COVID-19 pandemic, as we have heard and noted, has elevated the role of technology in the workplace, and likewise has accelerated investments in technology in all sectors and spheres of the workplace and in everyday life. We hear from our sisters and brothers and those agencies in developed countries of their wide use of the HR technologies. Much of those are already mainstreamed. Then that appears to be the norm. And it seems to be the norm for a number of investment in cloud-deployed human capital management, or HCM for short, for administrative HR and talent management. And we've just had examples from our colleagues from the UK talking about it. But yes, this appears to be the norm, but this is very much on the surface in the Kingdom of Tonga. We're still at the doorway of this digital space. The emerging HR technologies which are becoming quite popular, such as virtual assistants in HCM and in particular, artificial intelligence, internal talent marketplace, as has been just discussed, employee productivity monitoring, as has been discussed, diversity, equity, and inclusion matters, as has been referred to in the first speaker, blockchain and augmented reality and this virtual reality applications. These are already being introduced and used across a lot of global organizations. But this is not the case in Tonga and for much of these technologies. And I think I can speak for probably many of my Pacific Island government neighbors around the Pacific. However, to utilize these technologies carries several assumptions for the government of Tonga. There are 5 of them. First, the investments, there has to be some investments already made on equipment, software, and the support infrastructure. Second, there has to be connectivity, capability, and bandwidth that are reliable to be in place. Third, there has to be guidelines to map out the various processes and procedures for events that need to be in place. Fourth, staff need to be already trained in the use of these technologies. And 5, I think this is also very important, there has to be some alignment and technology responsive legislations and employment laws for these things to happen. All of these 5 assumptions, they fall short of being fully realized in Tonga. For example, investments on machines, software, and support infrastructure. 3/4 of our public servants and in the government they're using personal computers and videos. And also about 3/4 of the 5,000 plus public service have personal smartphones. However, mainstream daily business in the digital sense is limited to using of the Microsoft apps for communications, including emails and the social media. The use of things such as virtual assistants, chatbots, virtual reality, that has just emerged. And this is still being used on an exploratory ad hoc basis, not that mainstream, as I've said before. Some of the software applications, virtual assistants, for example, is of great interest to us here in the public service because of their potential to save significant processing time and cost by automating high volume and low complex HCM processes and freeing up time for our HR managers to focus on more higher level work. And we hope to explore and tap into these more. The connectivity capability in Tonga is limited. We are still only in the rural areas, we are running on a bandwidth 4G, and the rest of the country is 3G. So that has major implications on being digitally prepared. 3 guidelines on different procedures on working remotely or working in virtual reality. These are not yet in place, but we are learning from other areas, from other governments who are supporting us in providing guidelines and guidance on how to do a number of things and follow things working remotely like this. 4, capability of our staff. In Tonga, there are only 148 staff working in the ICT area. And of these, only less than 50% are trained professional ICTs. There is a huge implication for training and upskilling in the relevant area, as has been identified by Mr. Mikala. And then lastly, in our current Public Service Act, there is no reference at all to the word digital. So we need to also look at other legislations, particularly the employment relations laws, where there may be a need to make sure that the laws fully support using digital platforms. I think to sum up, in terms of digital readiness, Tonga is not that prepared in a global sense. We are still in the fringes, but COVID-19, as has been mentioned by the SG in their opening remarks, has catapulted us, has galvanized us to look at working using different operating models because the future is pretty much unknown as is. Thank you.